What are your goals? What's your vision for the future? Where do you see yourself in a few years? Okay, that's something important to think about. There's an old saying, vision without work is a daydream. Work without vision is a nightmare. Okay, there is so much truth in that one. If we're working just because we got to work and we don't have any goal or anything we're working towards, it's a nightmare. We're just working because we have to. All right, at the same time, if we have a vision for where we want to be, a goal for the future, and we're not doing anything about it, well, then we're never going to get there. We're just killing time, and it's just daydream. Okay, well, that's important stuff to think about, especially now, because so many of us seem to be lacking a vision or a goal for the future. Okay, we need that. And we need to think about it every so often because hopefully we achieve some goals and we accomplish some things. And times change and circumstances and so forth. So our goals should change. We should be coming up with new goals as we reach old ones. Or again, if things change, we've got to come up with new goals and where we want to be and start working to get there. Which Jordan Peterson said something I thought was really interesting. He said the term sin originates from archery, bow and arrows. And it means to miss the mark. Okay, that makes sense. As Christians, we have a standard. We have God, we have the Bible. It tells us how we should live. Okay, and when we don't do that, even if you're not a Christian, when you do things you know are morally wrong, you've missed the mark. Okay, sin, that makes sense. Well, I think not working toward our goals when we do have a vision for the future, I think that's a sin. Okay, I think not having a goal, that's a sin. Okay, it's definitely not doing it. It's not helping us. And then once we have that goal, then we have something we can focus on and start working towards. And we might actually get there. I'm not saying it's easy, but it's possible. And at least we're trying. Okay, I've been thinking about that as far as myself lately. And those of you that follow the channel, you know what my goal is to finish my house. I've been extensively remodeling a house. I'm hoping to be in by Christmas. I'm doing the wiring now, siding's next, and sheetrock and floors and trim, and hey, done. I hope. That sounded good. Okay, that's my goal. That's what I'm working toward. And then a big part of what I'm also working toward with that is to be more self-sufficient. Okay, that's my goal, where I want to be in the future. I'm working hard to try to get there. Okay, well, let's apply this to the West right now. All right, not just the United States, the West. All right, so Western Europe, Canada, Australia. I'm not sure I'd count South Africa as part of the West anymore. I mean, there's a lot of issues there right now. Okay, so for the Western nations, I'm going to include Russia in this also. I still consider Russia a Western nation. Okay, what are our goals for the future? That's a tough one. I think so many of us are lacking goals. We're lacking purpose. For the U.S., Western nations, for years our goal was to export democracy. We wanted to free everybody in the world, make the world a better place, and if everybody was just free and we had democracies and self-governance, life would be good. We just need to get rid of the fascists and the communists. I know a lot of you communists probably don't even understand what I mean by that, but type in Mao and Stalin. Okay, and then ask yourself, well, would you want to live under them? Okay, that's what you get with communism. All right, so our goal is to export democracy. And hey, well, we tried, but it didn't work. And we eventually came to realize, well, other places are different than us. Afghanistan's a very different culture than the West. Okay, they're tribal. Their loyalty is to the tribe, to their family groups. It's not to the truth. It's not to honesty. It's not to meritocracy. It's to the family. In which a lot of Russia's that way. A lot of the Eastern nations are that way. And the reason being, they've been at war. They have faced external threats for so many centuries that they had to rely on the family in order to, fend off invasion from all directions. Well, the more Western nations, England specifically. I think England, being an island nation, not facing, as being to the extreme west of Europe, it had a degree of protection that so many other nations didn't enjoy. So the whole Western thought or value of the individual freedom, liberty, representation, all that stuff, I think that really worked for England because of the unique geographic situation it was in. It didn't have to face the Mongol hordes from the east. It didn't have to face Hitler invading from the west. Anyway, you get the idea. And that got exported here to America with the colonists, and then we just expanded on it. We weren't facing external threats. Okay, so I think that makes a difference. Which that fell apart when we realized we can't just export democracies everywhere. And again, Afghanistan, prime example. Okay, so for the liberal West, it's just like our whole purpose just kind of collapsed. So what now? We're lacking in purpose. And the extreme left here, it seems like their thought process went from, okay, well, we can't export democracy everywhere because people are different. But we can just bring everybody here and just have unlimited mass immigration. Okay, that's an even worse idea, but anyway, that was their idea, I think. Or that's the only rational thing I can come up with. All right, but it still doesn't change the fact we don't have a purpose anymore. And that someone recently pointed out something I thought was extremely interesting. Okay, we got MAGA, Make America Great Again, and then we got the progressives. And neither of those are happy with where we are. Okay, so Make America Great Again. Trying to recapture past greatness. All right, and then the progressives. Oh, it's just horrible where we are. We got to make progress and continue marching towards that utopian communist dream. Yeah. But still, nobody's happy with the present. Okay, which is fine. I mean, there's a lot of reasons to not be happy with right now. A lot of challenges. Okay, but where do we want to be? And I don't think any of us know. I think that's the problem. It's not that with MAGA, Make America Great Again, it's not that America quit being great. And with the progressives, well, it's just horrible right now. Okay, I'm not even going to try to figure them out. But anyway, with the conservatives, Make America Great Again and all of that stuff, it isn't that we quit being great. It's just we lost focus. We lost our goal, our vision for the future. I think we need to recapture that as a civilization. Because if we don't have a purpose, we're just going to fall apart. I think the not having a purpose is the reason the left has made so many inroads and basically captured pretty much all of our institutions which the left is quickly making us tribal. I can see us moving in that direction right now. We're becoming more and more tribal. The left has been playing with identity politics so long that it's not going to work out well. And then you throw in the mass legal and illegal immigration on top of that. And anyway, all right, well, back to what's our purpose. We need to get busy and figure what that is pretty quick. And for the time being, and the one thing I just keep coming back to over and over again, is why I keep saying this over and over again, is the only thing I know to do for the moment is just focus on myself, making myself the best I can be. That's all I got at the moment. And I think that's really all any of us can do. And then once we do that, we start focusing on our shortcomings and, trying to improve and get better at that. I think then we can start focusing on the nation, whatever our nation is in the West. What are the shortcomings of our nations? What can we improve here? In the U.S., transparency. We've been missing that for a long time. Too many things are classified. Now I get the need for some secrets, and we don't need to know everything, but there's a lot of things we should know. Are we here to serve the government, or is the government here to serve us? Is it of the people and by the people? And if so, they need to quit hiding things from the people. Open and transparent. Because right now a lot of things appear to be very, very, very corrupt. And then if we can get that transparency and have trust in our government again, because we don't at the moment, then maybe we can start progressing it and making progress and improving certain things and getting back to making some tough decisions. A famous quote from Thomas Sowell: there are no solutions, only trade-offs. There's so much truth in that one. There's so many problems that are never going to go away. Security and freedom. That's a classic one there. If we want security, we've got to give up freedom. If we want freedom, we've got to give up some security. It's trade-offs. Well, same way with government. Federal Reserve. I don't know how much to blame the Federal Reserve for so much of what's going on right now financially. I think they've made a lot of bad decisions. I don't know that they had any choice. There's a lot of conspiratorial things to be concerned about in regards to the Federal Reserve and how it came about. The whole thing was pretty crooked, and were they necessary? And I think they are. I don't know. But if the Federal Reserve is not managing the money supply and interest rates, which the Federal Reserve is not federal, it's private banks. They try to make it sound official, Federal Reserve. No, it's private banks. And they've made a lot of money off the United States, off of all of us. But if they're not managing our money supply, then Congress is, which the Constitution specifically gives Congress that responsibility to manage our money supply. Can we trust Congress to manage our money supply? I don't think so. Back to the transparency. How much money has Nancy Pelosi made trading stocks? Do we want her handling the money supply also? So we've got a lot of apparent corruption going on. All right, that's getting back to we need that transparency. We need that trust in government again. We need to clean up the place. I think that would be a really good purpose for the moment. And if we could manage to do that, then I think it would be worth questioning, okay, do we really need the Federal Reserve? What exactly are they accomplishing for us? And at the moment, I'd hate to say it, but I think we do need them. I think they're the most responsible bunch in the room, which a lot of you young people right now, okay, you're having trouble affording houses. Part of it's a supply problem, but a big part of it's just 2008. We're still paying for that one. Okay, and then the quantitative easing and all of that stuff and all of the money the government printed and $30 trillion, the debt that you young people are going to get saddled with. I don't blame the Federal Reserve for that. So many people forget that around 2000 or so, Congress was telling the banks, you've got to give loans to everyone, whether they qualify or not. We have to make the American dream of owning a house accessible to everyone. All right, so, and the government also said we'll use government agencies, Freddie Mac and Fannie Mae, and if something goes wrong with the loans, then we'll back that. Don't worry. We've got you covered, Federal Reserve, so make sure the banks are giving money to everybody. Okay, that's why we had the financial crisis in 2008. That was a big part of it. The banks were more than happy to step up and say, all right, if you want us to behave irresponsibly and make lots of money doing it, okay. I mean, who are we to argue with the government? So, I mean, it's not like the banks don't bear some responsibility in this, but this was a government-created problem, and we're still paying for it, and we're going to be paying for it for a long time. Do we want that same government managing our money supply versus the Federal Reserve? Okay, so yeah. I think that'd be a good place right now for us to start. Work on ourselves as individuals, something I keep saying over and over, something I personally keep doing or trying to do better at, working on myself. And then let's slowly, I think MAGA is a step in the right direction. I think there are some things Trump's doing that are pretty good. Let's get some transparency in government. Let's get rid of some corruption with ourselves. Let's get rid of some corruption with our government. And let's all start being better. Let's make ourselves great again. Okay, that wasn't what I'd planned on talking about today. Making ourselves great again. I guess that's what that would be. I was actually planning on talking about suburbs. Yeah, suburbs. All right, and we'll get into this when I finally figure out exactly what's going on there, but apparently suburbs are bad now. The left is not happy with them, which, what are they happy with? But as I was thinking about that, I realized because of just a technological change, the invention of the automobile, how spread out everything is now and how dependent we are on our cars. Okay, we can't walk to the grocery store anymore, at least most of us can't. So we need our vehicles. Well, is that necessarily a good thing? And I don't mean from the leftist, whatever they got going on standpoint. I mean just from a personal security standpoint. I mean, if we have some major disruptions in the oil supply and the price of gasoline goes through the roof like it has done in the past and will probably do again at some point in the future, but then we've all got these long drives and commutes and that type of stuff. I don't see that being necessarily a good thing. Okay, and if we're so dependent on our vehicles at the same time, we've got the government really not forcing automotive companies to not make very good vehicles. The vehicles now aren't very good. They're disposable. And a lot of that's us. And with the Federal Reserve, okay, they made money cheap. That's what the low interest rates did for so long, and that's what's driven up asset prices. Okay, that's why most of you can't afford a house right now, you young people. okay, with higher interest rates. I know you hate to see the interest rates going up, but as the interest rates go up, the price of the houses come down. And for the first time in your life, for a lot of you, you'll actually get money, interest on your money when you save it. So a lot of you don't even understand savings because you've never had an incentive to save money because the interest rates have been so long for so many years now. Okay, so there's a lot of destructive things coming from all of the low interest rates. That's what allows BlackRock to just borrow money for next to nothing and start buying residential houses, again, driving up the housing prices. Okay, so we need the higher interest rates. We need our money to be worth something, and that's what an interest rate does. It tells you the value of money. Okay, so anyway, I got a little bit to work out there with the suburbs. It went down a rabbit hole I really wasn't expecting, and I hadn't quite figured that out yet. But then it just went back to the same thing that we just talked about a minute ago. That whole, we need a purpose now. We got to start working to make ourselves better. We've got to start working to personally to understand what's going on, financially with things, and transparency with the government. We've got to find a purpose for our nations and for the West. Okay, so no matter what I thought about, I just kept coming back to this topic. So that's why we're talking about this tonight, and hopefully next time we're going to talk about suburbs. God bless and have a great day.